Today we're going to talk about blueprint reading and drafting in a way, and we're going to talk starting with the ruler. All right, so these are the rulers that I have in the class, and they're just like every other ruler, broken into 12 inches. One of the things to realize is they have a couple more measurements than possibly what we're used to. So if we look right here at the beginning, it says 32. And that means there's 32 marks between 0 and all the way up till 3 per inch. 32 marks per inch for these first 3 inches. Here at inch 3, it goes to 64 marks per inch. From 3 to 4, there's 64 divisions. And then from 4 to the end of the ruler, we have just 16, and it says that right there. Okay? So we're going to talk about scaling down our blueprint, and oftentimes I'm going to say draw it at a 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 or something like that. I wanted you to be familiar. Again, what this means is that between 1 and 0, we have 32 marks, right? And you can kind of see there's a little baseline where all your 32s are on this closest line to the edge. Then all of your 1/8 inch are the next line over, or sorry, that'd be your 16ths. Then your 1/8 inch is this third line, and 1/4 inch is that final line. And then you have your 1/2 inch mark right there. If you guys can see all that. All right, so these little lines separating each one of those is your 32nd, then your 16th, then your 1/8, and then your 1/4. And the lines that go back to that line, your 1/4 marks. Remember that fractions can reduce, so 1/2 is the same as 4/8, and that's the same as 8/16. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our boot scraper project, and that's the final project for second term. And if we look down here, it says it's already drawn on this paper 1 to 4 scale. And what I want you to do today is actually take and draw this 1 to 2 scale. What 1 to 4 means is that for every inch I measure down here, it's actually 4 inches in real life. So when this says 8 inches over here, and I measure it with my ruler, it says it's 2 inches. And I have to times that by 4, and I actually get my 8. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how long it really is. But on my paper, it's 1/4 scale. So what I want to do today is have you redraw the boot scraper. It's a pretty simple project in 1 to 2 scale. And that means that for every inch, it's really a 1/2 an inch. So when I draw 8, it's going to be 4, because it'll go 1 foot, or 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch, 7 inch, 8 inch. All right, so hopefully that made a little bit of sense. I've got another video explaining the whole project of the boot scraper and like what we're seeing on this blueprint here. But all I want to do today is recreate this blueprint, but in a 1/2 scale instead of 1/4 scale. So I'm going to leave this to the side here so we can still see it. Maybe I'll put it over here. That works. And I'm going to grab a piece of tape. I don't want my paper to move, so I will have a couple rolls of painter tape floating around the classroom, and you're just going to tear off 4 little pieces and tape the very corners of your paper down to the table. And this helps keeping it from move around on you. All right. First thing we're going to do is we want to draw a border around here just to make it look nice and clean. So I'm going to come a 1/2 inch in from each edge. I'm going to make a 1/2 inch mark and a 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to do the same thing up here at the top so I can draw a nice straight line. And when I draw this line, I'm going to stop my line and start it a 1/2 inch from the edge. So I'm going to go from the 1/2 inch mark all the way up to the 1/8 inch mark. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. From the 1/2 inch mark, following my line, all the way up to the 1/8 inch mark. Now I'm going to connect the top and bottom lines. It's basically making a frame around our paper. You can push or drag your pencil. That's up to you. Just make sure you go from point to point. All right, and if you overdraw a little bit, you can use your eraser. Okay. All right, so there's our border. When we draw our first view here, this is our front view, then our top view, and our side view. So that's typically how this is laid out, is front, top, and side, and then we call this the isometric view. We are not going to worry about drawing that right now. We're only going to do front, top, and side. Okay, and this is going to help you as you build this term. So our first dimension that we need to know is that this base plate is 8 inches long and it is 3/16 thick. So when we're drawing that to our scale, I'm going to start here in the bottom corner, and I'm going to come up an inch, just make a little mark, and I'm going to come over an inch, and I'm going to make a little mark. And right about there, that's where I'm going to start. All right, that just helps me create a little baseline. So I'm going to try and keep my ruler parallel with the bottom line. So now that I've got that inch, and I'm going to come 4 inches because I'm drawing it half as big as it is in real life. And since it's 8 inches in real life, I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to draw it 4 inches. Now, this says it is 3/16 inch material. Now, 3/16 might be kind of hard to pinpoint on your paper here. So I'm going to tell you just to draw it as an 1/8 inch thick. So I'm going to draw a little line going up at an 1/8 inch here, and a little line here at an 1/8 inch. And now I'm going to connect those two lines as well. All right. So now I've got my base plate right here. I need to draw my uprights next. I want to locate those uprights in the correct position. So I look at my top view here, and I notice that a 1/2 inch in from either side, I have my 1/2 inch bar. So that's a 1/4 inch on our ruler. A 1/4 inch on our ruler is this mark right here. So I put a little dot. It is 1/2 inch bar, which is another 1/4 inch on our ruler, because again, we're drawing everything half as big. 1/2 inch and 1/4. Now I'm going to draw, I can make a reference now, because I want to draw these lines going straight up. I don't want them going diagonal or crooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually measure how far over from the edge it is. And we have about an inch and an 1/8 over. So I'm going to make another kind of just reference point, inch and an 1/8 over. Okay, and I'm going to measure this one outside here, and that is 4.5. And I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to make another little reference, 4.5. Okay, now when I draw this line going up, I take a look at this side view over here, And this side view says that I'm 5 inches from the base to the top. So over here, I'm going to draw a line that's 2.5 inches all the way up. 2.5 inches, so I keep in line with my little reference point here, 2.5. There we go. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 2.5. There we go. Now I'm just going to try and eyeball this, make sure I'm not, again, narrowing in or going straight out. I'm going to take that, again, 2.5, straight down, and come over here to this one. I may have to switch hands or kind of swing over a little bit. And I'm going to just lightly go in here, 2.5. Now I can make a straight line going across, and this will be the top. I'll just connect these two, and I'll connect those two. So now I have my two supports. You'll notice though, I don't really have, when this bends, we see a 1/2 inch line here. That is the edge of this square. So we want to be able to show that we can see the face of that square right here. And so we're going to come up a 1/4 inch and make a mark. And we can come up a 1/4 inch over here, make a mark. And now we can transfer our line, go edge to edge, edge to edge. And now we've got the bottom pieces of our angle, that square bar that holds up the boot scraper. All right, now we got to do 2 more lines here, and then that view is pretty much done, right? This is 2 inches in real life. So I'm going to draw these lines 1 inch apart from each other, a 1/4 inch down from the top. So on my paper, I'm going to come down 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to come down 1 inch and 1/8, and 1 inch and 1/8. I'm going to connect those lines. So I'm going to take this, my 1/8 inch mark right there, make a mark, my 1/8 inch mark, make a mark, come down 1 inch and 1/8, make a mark, and make a mark. This fly is going to die. If you can see, there's a fly buzzing all around me. And there we go. There's our boot scraper. Now, what see here is what we call a section line. And what we're doing here is let's say we're taking a lightsaber and we're going to cut this boot scraper right in half. And then we're going to open it up. And this is how we see these lines right here. These dashes right here are showing us that this material has been cut in half. So we don't need to necessarily draw that right now, but we are going to have our cutting plane line. So we want to take and draw a light dashed line down here, and we're going to go long, dash, dash, long, dash, dash, long. And then we'll take our ruler. Again, we don't freehand much around here, so we're going to take a ruler, draw our arrow, and you can freehand the arrow. I'll let you freehand the arrow. And then you would write A and A. Okay, now we're going to go into our more detailed top view. And you would think that we have to redraw a bunch of stuff. And in some ways we do, and in some ways we don't. We're going to take a lot of these lines that are down here and we're going to draw them straight up. Remember, we made a little reference. We knew that this is 1 inch over. And I did that on purpose so when we come up here, I can also draw a reference over here. And that means this should be 5 inches over. So I'm going to draw another reference over here. Now I can take those 2 pinpoints and I can reference this edge. So 1 inch from the top. All I really need to do is make sure I clear here This base plate is 4 inches. Sorry, I lied. This base plate is 6 inches from here to here. So in real life, we're going to draw 3 inches. So as long as we clear the top of this, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to lay out, I'm going to come this way, 1, 2, 3. So it looks like, yeah, 4 to 7. I'm going to go right from here. I'm going to go 4 in line with my mark up to 7. And I'm going to come over to here. And again, make sure I make my line from 7 to 4, 4 to 7. Now I'm going to connect these two lines, and they are 4 inches apart, like I want them to be. And come up here and draw those, connect them. All right, so there's our base plate. Now, same thing, we're going to transfer these lines up here. We need to know how far, where these bars sit. So I take a look at my blueprint here, 1.5 inches in, and that's going to be what we call TYP, or typical. So 1.5 inches on both sides. This L bracket stands in the middle. So on my paper, I'm going to come down and make a mark. Sometimes it's easier to mark it like this. And again, I like to put just little dots on the edges of my paper so that I know that I'm following in line. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here, again, make little dots. Now when I come up to here, I'm going to measure up 1.5 inches in real life, divided that in half. Half of 1 is 1/2 inch. Half of 1/2 is 1/4. So 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4 inch. I'm going to come up 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 and make my little mark. I'm going to come up here 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, make my little mark. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Come down 1, 2, 3/4, make a little mark. Come down here 1, 2, 3/4, make a little mark. Okay, again, we know that they are 1/2 inch in or 1/4 inch from the edge. So I have my 1/4 inch mark here. Okay, so that's the corner of this bar. And I have this guy in right here, 1/4 inch in. So here is the side of that. Now my board flexes a little bit, and I must have drawn off a little bit because it flows out just a hair. Same thing over on this side. I'm going to come over 1/4 inch. And I'm going to come over 1/4 inch at my little mark. And I'm going to connect those two lines. All right. Now they are 1/4 inch across from each other. Oh, it's the metric side. We're going to flip this around. We're going to go here. And we come in 1/4, in 1/4, in 1/4, in 1/4. And we can always connect these lines while we're at it. This is turning out a little wonky. I think it's because my board flexes. On your tables, it should be able to stay a little bit straighter. Connect those lines. Connect that line. I think I'm going to redraw this one and make that line straighter. And that's why we want to draw with pencil. If you draw with pen, things can get kind of messy. Now in the top view, again, we want to notice that this has a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square. So again, we're going to come down 1/2 inch. Well, that's a 1/4. 1/4 in real life, 1/2 inch because we're doing half scale. And we'll connect that and that. All right, so there's the top. Those are the top of the bars. Now we just have to draw 2 parallel lines that are 3/16. If we look at this view right here, we can tell that this thickness of the scraper of our boot scraper is flush to the front side, and it has a little notch on the back side. You can tell that notch right here, and we can tell that it's flush on the front side from this isometric view. So we are going to actually connect these 2 lines straight across just like that. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to make a mark. That's an 1/8 inch up and about an 1/8 inch up. And we'll connect those 2 lines. And that is the thickness of our scraper. Now we've got 2 holes that are drawn here, and that's so you can mount your boot scraper to your deck somewhere. We're going to take that. That hole is located in the center, 3/4 inches in. So I'm going to do a little bit of a mark. Again, I like little tiny marks to find center. Right here and here. 1/2 of 4 is 2. So now I know where my center line is, and I'm going to take that center line, line that up. So I have 6 inches here, I have 9 inches here on the ruler, and 3/4. Now 1/2 of 3/4 is actually 3/8. 3/4, not to its lowest denominator, is the same as 6/8. And again, 1/2 of 6 would be 3. So 3/8 is 1/2 of 3/4. So I'm going to come down here 3/8. And here's my 1/8 mark. 1. 1/4 inch is 2/8. 3/8. There's that mark. I'm going to come in here 1/8. 2/8 is 1/4. 3/8. Okay, and then there's my circle. You can actually use, oh, that's pretty big. Never mind. I was going to say you could probably just trace that. But it's a 1/4 inch in diameter. So we're going to go 1/8 inch across and 1/8 inch here. There's our hole. Got 1/8 inch here. There we go. That'll work. Now, you'll see this JM. If you read the notes on our blueprint, this is a extra credit. If you put a brand, you create a appropriate brand, and you pass off that logo on the back side of your blueprint. Mine stands for Jared Masick, and that's my little ranch brand, right? It's kind of the theme of the boot scraper. Have this out on the farm. Or if you have it in the city, you know, scraping the snow or mud off your boots from being in the backyard or whatnot. That brand, whatever you do, just needs to be appropriate and approved by me. You can get some extra credit points for putting that on there. And again, we'll look at the quality of your weld and the creativity. All right, so there is my brand. I'm not going to draw my brand on there, but you could imagine my brand being there. Now we're going to go over to our section view, which is the side view, right? And we're going to just separate these views by about 1 inch. So I'll just make a mark right here. And that's my thickness line, right? And because this is 6 inches across that way, I'm going to go again 3 inches. 1, 2, 3 inches in real life. Come down. And then connect 1, 2, 3 inches in real life. So there's the side view. And again, this is cut in half. We're going to put this one right here because this is cut in half, we're going to do these diagonal hatching, that's what it's called, across here. And they actually create different hatchings for different materials. This so happens to be the hatching for steel. If it was stainless or aluminum or cast iron, they actually have different patterns that you would draw in here if you're a real blueprint drawer. All right, so we have the top of our L bracket. So I've lined up my 9-inch with this edge and my 12-inch with that edge. So there's my piece. I've got that. I know that this is 1.5 inch inset typical. So I am going to make my 3/4 mark. And I'm going to make a little dot here, make my little 3/4 dot here. And I'm going to connect it all the way up until that last 1/4 inch. I'm going to stop because remember we got to go up. So now that I've got this, I'm going to have another little reference line up here. If I, again, line these up, I know that 8 inches is the edge of my plate and 9 inches is the edge of my plate here. And if I take that 7 3/4 mark, line it up here, I know that that's the edge of my plate down here. And then I know that the 3/4 inch in was the edge of my bar right here. And I want to go 3/4 inch back over here. I can draw this straight line right here. And that will line up that inside edge with the back and the inside. And I will just use this guy right here. So there's the edge of that. Hopefully you found that kind of useful, that these, once you get this main view, your front view done, transferring lines up to your top and your side view ends up being pretty simple. So we now have to transfer our thickness of our boot scraper over. So we're just going to do that, and we're going just about 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to connect these lines. And again, because this has been cut in half, we're going to hatch this thing, that scraper, for us right there. All right, now that we've got it all drawn, you would think that we were done. And we're not done exactly. A couple things I want you to do. We're going to go around and we're going to dimension the boot scraper. And the dimensions are already right here. So you're going to take your ruler and you're going to, when we do a dimension, we try not to touch the material. We come right up to it about 1/16 away, and we come off, and we come off, and then you can draw a little arrow. Now you can see we can't fit an arrow inside, so we fit an arrow to the outside, and then we write 3/16. All right, and then we have another arrow, and it goes all the way up, and it comes off the top here. So I'm going to do my other extension line out here, and I'll do a straight line coming up with a little arrow on it, and we can draw it right next to the line, and that'll be the same thing. So I want you to go through here, and I want you to dimension the same thing you see on your blueprint here. All right, I will. This is basically what I want you to do today: is go through now and dimension all your parts. Now, before you are done, you need to come down to this bottom corner. You're going to come and make a 1/2 inch mark, and you're going to make that line about 4 inches long. Make another 1/2 inch mark. We're going to make a title block. And what you're going to do in the title block is pretty simple. this is what you got to do at the very end of the class period. You're going to come over here to that first half inch, or the first inch of this, make another line, and you're going to write your class period. Whatever class period you're in. And then you're going to write name, and then you're going to write your name. Again, try and write it as best as possible. Definitely not letter perfect, but now this is ready to be turned in as soon as all your dimensions are on it. Okay, so I appreciate you guys going through this. We'll go into this blueprint maybe a little bit deeper another day. You don't need to write down the welding symbols. We'll cover that we'll cover those welding symbols in class on another date. But I want you to draw the front, the top, the side view in 1/2 scale. And that's what I demonstrated today. All right, good luck.